What if we told you the Navy trains you by nearly drowning you safely? They lock you into a pressurized submarine escape trunk and you rocket up through an 84,000-gallon tank, 37 feet deep. Then they make you do an all-night crisis run inside the USS Trayer destroyer replica. No sleep, cold, wet, 17 emergency scenarios. Today we're tracing the path from boot camp into the pipeline that prepares you to work on submarines worth billions. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel. You start at Recruit Training Command in Great Lakes, Illinois, about 35 miles north of Chicago. It is the only boot camp for enlisted U.S. Navy sailors, and more than 40,000 recruits graduate here every year. You step off the bus, and your time stops being yours. Everything is movement and correction, faster. Do it again. The stress is deliberate because the Navy is not testing how you perform on a good day. It is testing whether you can still execute under pressure. After arrival, you get one short phone call home. It is quick, emotional, and it feels like the last normal sentence you will hear from someone say for a while. Then processing swallows you. You get issued a ditty bag with uniforms, hygiene items, and the basic gear you will live on. You provide a urine sample for drug screening. You get assigned to a division. Then you meet your recruit division commanders, the RDCs, marked by red shoulder cords. They are not here to comfort you. They are here to harden your habits, because out in the fleet, a mistake can kill somebody. If you ever hear sailors bring up collisions like USS Fitzgerald, that is what they mean. Sloppy work becomes consequences. Your days are built around control. You learn when to speak, how to move, and how to stop improvising. Meals are silent, eyes forward, dismissed on command. If you cannot control yourself when nothing is happening, you will not control yourself when alarms start. The standards arrive as tests. Early on, you take an initial physical assessment with timed push-ups, timed planks, and running in the pacer test. You get 2 chances. If you fail, you can be recycled into another division, and you keep training until you meet the requirement. The bar stays where it is, and you climb to it. Water shows up in week 1, and it is non-negotiable. You face the third-class swim qualification every sailor must pass. You step from an elevated platform, surface unassisted, swim 50 yards, and then hold a 5-minute float on your front or your back. The hard part for a lot of recruits is not the distance. It is the first impact and the moment your breathing wants to panic. If you struggle, you go to remedial swimming and keep going until you pass. The program reports a 99.97% pass rate because the Navy is not trying to lose you to fear. It is trying to train you through it. By week 3, training stops being personal. You go through an intensive training exercise called ITE that lasts about 40 minutes with no break. It looks like nonstop push-ups and constant correction, but the target is teamwork under fatigue. You are tired, irritated, and tempted to check out, and that is exactly when the instructors demand that you either lead or follow. No lone wolves. 1 unit. Week 3 also gives you seamanship at the Marlene Spike Trainer. You learn knots and line handling, and you learn why communication matters more than strength. Trainers assign roles that mirror real ship stations. Messages move from the bridge down through phone talkers to line captains, and commands get repeated exactly, because changing words on a loud deck is how people get hurt. You learn that avast means stop, and you learn that standard language is a safety device. Week 4 adds controlled discomfort. You enter the confidence chamber for exposure to CS gas. The goal is proof that the protective mask works when you don it and clear it correctly. An instructor pours powder from CS capsules onto a hot plate, and the room fills. When the mask comes off, the burn hits fast. Your eyes water, your throat tightens, and your brain wants to bolt. You do the steps anyway. You also train firefighting with controlled propane fires. Instructors are blunt that any sailor might have to fight a fire to save the ship, aircraft, or submarine. The first time you open a nozzle, the pressure pushes you backward, and you learn why stance and teamwork matter. If you do it wrong, you endanger the people behind you. Then boot camp turns into its longest night. Battle Stations is the capstone event, and it happens inside the USS Trayer, a 2/3 scale replica of a Navy destroyer, built by the same companies that build Walt Disney World attractions. Nothing about it feels like entertainment. You are not allowed to sleep. It is cold, loud, and confusing on purpose because emergencies do not wait for comfort. Battle Stations runs through 17 scenarios. One starts with a burst water pipe in a room full of ammunition shells, and your team has to move the ammo while trying to patch the pipe. Another forces you to locate and evacuate a casualty through thick smoke and total darkness while instructors shout that people are dying. There is even a training space built to resemble damage like the October 2000 attack on USS Cole, down to a clock stopped at the minute the real attack occurred. Steel is not a story here. It is where you live, work, and get hurt if you get careless. When it ends, you line up and receive your Navy ball cap. Civilian to recruit to sailor. You are exhausted, but now you have proof you can function in chaos. If you volunteer for submarines, the screening tightens. Submarine duty is volunteer, but it is not automatic because crews are small and systems are complex. You need strong scores on the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, the ASVAB, because submarines demand technical aptitude across math, mechanical comprehension, and electronics. You also go through medical screening because the undersea environment is unforgiving. Base pay for enlisted sailors is about $22,000 a year, and you are committing to at least 4 to 6 years depending on your rate. Submariners can earn submarine pay starting around $85 more per month, increasing with years, and the Navy has offered volunteer signing bonuses up to $40,000. But the deeper currency is trust. Underwater, almost right is not enough. If you're learning a lot from this video so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and let's get started. That is how you end up at Basic Enlisted Submarine School, BESS, in Connecticut, about halfway between Boston and New York. More than 5,000 students attend each year, and the course runs about 8 weeks. BESS is where your day shifts from boot camp discipline to sealed world survival. Instructors build controlled versions of flooding, fire, and escape, because the first time you meet those problems cannot be on a real boat. They frame the work around Virginia-class submarines, about 377 feet long, powered by a nuclear reactor, armed with torpedoes, and crewed by roughly 130 to 140 people. With that crew size, you do not get to hide. Flooding training makes time feel physical. You go into a damage control wet trainer that simulates ruptured pipes and can blast up to 1,200 gallons per minute. Before you enter, you learn the tools and the discipline. A strongback is a curved piece of metal with rubber that seals over a rupture. Marlin is tar-infused hemp fiber that gets sticky when wet and helps you clog and wrap a leak. Chain wrenches only work if the chain is seated correctly so the teeth bite. Gloves stay on and positive control of tools stays on, because scrambling for a dropped wrench in fast water is how injuries happen. Inside, the noise hits first. Water sprays hard enough to blow into your eyes. Instructors watch through a window with windshield wipers because spray covers everything. They cannot shout instructions over the roar, so they wave flashlights and hold signs. Evolutions run about 30 minutes, and they can simulate loss of lighting, so you work by battle lanterns. If someone breaks a safety rule, the evolution stops. Fire training follows, and it is about air. Students fight a Class Alpha fire with a hose, a liquid bilge fire by laying a foam blanket to suffocate it, and an electrical fire where power must be secured before a CO2 extinguisher finishes the job. CO2 has hazards like shock, suffocation, and freezing, so you treat it with respect. The target is coordination because submarines survive by everyone moving together. Then you reach escape training, and it is taught as physics. You train in the pressurized submarine escape trainer, the PSET, a tank 37 feet deep, 20 feet wide, holding about 84,000 gallons of water. Students first pass a hyperbaric test simulating pressure at 60 feet by performing the Valsalva maneuver to clear their ears. Then you enter pressurized chambers at 15 feet and 37 feet that fill with water before the hatch opens into the tank. At 15 feet, the Navy checks breathing control. Instructors want a steady exhale of about 6 to 8 seconds on the way up. At 37 feet, you wear an escape suit that gives you air and buoyancy, and you plug into an air system like you would on a submarine. You hold on, you keep clearing your ears, and you expect bubbles and jostling. The rule is simple. Never hold your breath on ascent. You exhale, and you let the suit do the work. When you hit the surface, training continues. You learn surface survival using submarine escape immersion equipment, the SEIE, including a life raft designed to encapsulate you and protect you from wind, sun, and temperature. The raft is fluorescent orange, so aircraft and ships can spot you, and instructors simulate rough seas so the first time you feel that motion is not the day your life depends on it. That is the day in the life behind the headline. Boot camp at RTC Great Lakes teaches control, teamwork, and calm under stress. Bess adds sealed world realities. Flooding becomes a timer at 1,200 gallons per minute. Fire becomes a fight for breathable air. And escape becomes procedure inside an 84,000-gallon tank. If you want more naval deep dives like this, subscribe and tell me in the comments which part would test you the most.